Hello, and welcome. My name is Kathleen. I'm here as your tech coach. On this show, we're going to talk about what Facebook groups are, but more importantly, how to get the most benefit out of being a member of a Facebook group. There's lots of content out there about starting groups and all that kind of stuff, but there's not a lot that talks about how to maximize your experience inside of a Facebook group. So that is what we're going to talk about. Bring your questions, bring your favorite groups, share them with the crowd. Let's get this party started. Okay, first I have to fix the captions because even though I tested it 3 times, it didn't work. So let's just refresh those. One sec. Are they going to work? Oh, come on, captions. Please cooperate. It's been that kind of day. I will warn you of that. There we go. All right, so now we have captions. All is right with the world. Well, maybe not. So, anyway, let's just dive in. Facebook groups, right? You certainly have heard about them if you spent more than 4 seconds on Facebook. They're always out there for you. People are always talking about them. But there's not a lot of content out there about like how to get the most benefit out of being in a group. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Okay. Sorry. I wanted to make sure everything was working because Facebook was a little wonky. I'm doing a show about Facebook, and Facebook decides tonight that it's going to be a little extra wonky. So I just want to make sure we're okay. We are okay. Alrighty. You know what? I'm just going to restart this if you don't mind because I think it needs to be restarted. Okay, so we're going to talk about Facebook groups. What they are, all that kind of good stuff, but more importantly, what you can do to get the most benefit out of being in a Facebook group. Because there's a lot of content about what they are, or, why you should create your own Facebook group, but there's not a lot of content about how to benefit from being in one. And that's what we're going to focus on tonight. Right out of my head. Okay, we'll just keep going. That's the way to go. So let's talk about what Facebook groups are. And basically, the short explanation is that they're just a centralized location on Facebook that a group of people can get together to talk about any specific topic. They are usually focused around a particular topic, although there is no rule about it. The content that is in there doesn't really get structured as far as Facebook is concerned. The difference is that it's not your personal profile. It's not a business page. It's a area that somebody can set up, and somebody does have to choose to set it up, give it a title, all that kind of good stuff. And then it can either be public or some level of private. So it can be public, so basically people can go and request to join and automatically get access, or you can set it up that they have to answer a few questions and then get manually approved. Or it could be a private group, right, that is not searchable on Facebook, but through invitation, word of mouth, people will find out about it and then ask to join and either get access to it or not. So there's different levels of it. Now, one thing I want to get out of the way first and foremost, because there's a lot of confusion around this. Just because you set up a Facebook group, or just because you make it a private Facebook group, does not mean that the rules don't apply. Okay, so that's the first thing to get clear here is when you're inside of a Facebook group, you do have to follow all of the rules of Facebook. That includes copyright and just general behavior and the types of images you can post, all that kind of stuff, because you're on the Facebook platform still, right? So even though it's private, okay, that word has very broad meaning in this sense, in that, yes, okay, you can control who comes in and you can kick people out, but it is still on the Facebook servers, and so all of their bots and all of their algorithms and all their rules still apply. So hopefully that's clear. Hopefully we're all on the same page about that. So let's talk about why you might want to join a Facebook group. If you're on Facebook, you're probably spending a lot of time there. That those two seem to go hand in hand. So Facebook groups are a good place to find people like-minded individuals, right? People you might have something in common with, whether that's a hobby, a job, an area of interest. So for example, for us, right, there's a lot of groups out there for business owners. Some of them are very broad, right? Just business owners. Some of them are small businesses. Some are local businesses. Some are businesses in certain industries. So it's a great resource for you to go and kind of, share ideas, kick around, ideas, get information from people who are in the same situation you are. So whether you're a solo entrepreneur, you're a small business, you're a family business, right? You're a medium-sized business, whatever. Also for organizations, right? There are groups that are focused around the people that are a part of an organization, but there are also Facebook groups for people who run organizations. So, especially, if you're in a smaller group or you're doing it by yourself, having another person, another group of people to kick ideas around with can be a gigantic help. And for the most part, they're free. Now, there are now this concept of paid access to Facebook groups too. But, whichever way you decide to go, as long as you're getting benefit out of it, which is what we're talking about here, that's the important thing. Hey, Sammy, how you doing? So that would be, some reasons why to do it. They're also a great resource for the latest information plus anecdotal information, right? So something happens in the industry, something happens online. It's a good way to kind of get the most up-to-date information. If you just do a search online, whatever your favorite search tool is, you're going to find that, that the information in like a blog post or whatever, by the nature of that type of content, is a little out of date. Whereas if you're in a Facebook group, you're going to find more up-to-date information. Now, you do have to vet it yourself. So it's a trust but verify situation. Just because you saw it on Facebook, just like on the internet, just because you saw it on the internet doesn't make it true, but it could be, right? So you want to make sure that you have access to this kind of information, but also that you double check it. Sorry, I was just looking to see if I can fix the lighting in here. But I don't know if that's going to work either, because it's that kind of day. So let's just see if this will connect. So yeah, stuff that works, that doesn't work. If you're, there's something new, like for example, when I'm recording this, like a new version of the iOS operating system has come out. iOS's operating system, you know what I mean. And there are issues around that because of the way that they've done it and all that kind of stuff. So, if your business, uses those kinds of devices and you're in a business group, then, you have somebody to talk with, if you're running into issues. Hey, have you guys updated? Are you seeing this issue? We're seeing this. We don't know if it's the update or if it's something else. So it's a place to have those kind of conversations quickly. Now, understand that, yes, you can absolutely have those kind of conversations around technology or your business or marketing or whatever it is that you need to talk about. But it's not going to be, it's not an on-demand, right, tech support or problem-solving group, right? You're dealing with people in different time zones. You're dealing with just people with, their own businesses to run, their own lives to run. So you might not feel all the time like you're getting that instant answer, okay? But that's the nature of the beast. So don't let that dissuade you from actually participating, but just keep that in mind. Because again, if you're not sure, especially if, something like that happens, like, something changes in an operating system, you can't always tell, was it the operating system? Was it something we did? So it's always good to be able to bounce that off of somebody else. And if you ask that question, 5 other people say, yeah, that happened to us too, exactly the same way, the odds are it was the operating system. Just saying. It's also, groups are a good way to sift through the noise of the newsfeed setup of Facebook. And go right to specific focused areas of conversation and content. See, everything's fighting back, including this. So you want to, keep it in mind when you're looking for information. It's also, frankly, if you are in the right groups, if you find the right groups, and we'll talk about that in a minute, I think it's a more effective way to use Facebook because it's not just an endless mishmash stream like your newsfeed is, right? You could go into a very specific area and talk to people about a very specific thing. So I find that it's less of a time waste, at least it feels that way to me, because what I'm doing there has more purpose. Your mileage may vary. Another reason that people use the Facebook groups is because of this little thing called networking, right? It's a great way to network with like-minded people. So even if that's your only purpose in doing it, it's a great way to go. All right, I apologize. Evidently, this is just not going to work tonight. Because life. We'll just keep going. But since I've already taken a breath here, if you have any questions, comments, if you need some help with anything, you can always go to yourtechcoach.net. There's a contact form there. If you have an idea for the show, if you have a topic you want me to cover, feel free to go ahead and just fill out that form and submit it. Only thing I ask is that if you have a problem or a question and you need a fast answer, let me know that when you submit the form, and let me know how to get back in touch with you so I can get back in touch with you quickly. Otherwise, I'll just have to assume that this is content for another show, and I will cover that here, like this one. All right. So let's keep going. So now that we've talked about what and why, let's get down into the nitty gritty. Let me bring up my magical other system. Actually, I should have the other system prepared to do that. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so let's talk first about where you can find groups, right? Because you're like, hey, maybe this sounds like a great idea. Or maybe you're in groups, maybe you're not. Maybe you've never, ever even thought about doing that. So I'm doing this in the new UI for you people, even though I'm holding onto the old UI, both hands. But for you lovely people, I did switch over for this. Okay, so when you're in the new UI, and I think, is this now? Yes, this is like the default. I'm just going to start from the beginning for everybody. I think this is it. I can't get used to the new UI. Okay, so from the new UI, what you're going to do is, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm going to have to take this down anyway, so let me do that. Apologies. I'm going to have to reorganize, relocate the captions when they're working. So in the new UI, you're going to come over here to the 3 bars, aka the hamburger menu, for those of you who are familiar with that term. You're going to click here, and then at the top here, you're going to go to see more to expand it, and way down here, you're going to see groups. I'm guessing they lost in some corporate war because I'm sure everybody wanted to be in the first 3 or 4. So you just click on groups, okay, and any ones that you're in are already here. And then you can see whatever information, but what you're looking for, if you're looking for a new group, there's a couple of ways to do it. One is you can actually type it in, type in a topic that you're interested or whatever, or you can just come down here to discover and click on that. And then over here, it's going to suggest groups to you based on whatever the algorithm is programmed to do those kind of recommendations at the moment. Probably it's things that you've liked, things that you've responded to from your newsfeed, things that you've searched. So you can go through, and then there's a little arrow over here, so you can spin through and see other ones. And you can actually, like, if just from the description and all that, you can come down here and you can actually join from here. Or you can go and click to see a little bit more about it. I recommend doing this because when you click through, you can find out more about it. You can kind of get a feel for what they're doing. Sometimes you'll be able to see content, sometimes you won't. It depends on how the group is set up, but it gives you a little more information before you sign up. And then it'll show you that there's different categories, right? So humor, sci-fi, travel. So if you're not really sure what you're looking for, you're just kind of browsing around, you can just come through and do it by all these different topics. You can see friends groups that may or may not be useful to you. You can see local groups. So there is a way to differentiate your group from being just generic online, or if it's specific to a geographic area, those exist. You can tell one of my favorite topics is dogs. So that came up. This will look different for you. Although, if you're a dog person, then you're all set to go. And then more groups. And yeah, so you can just scroll through and do it this way, looking for ideas. Very often, you're going to hear about a group from somebody. So that's when you're going to come over here and do the search, or maybe somebody's going to actually give you the link. Once you do that, or maybe if you're visiting a page, it might say that they have a group. So then you're going to come to something, some page. And it's going to obviously look different depending on the group that you're looking at. What you're looking for is this join group option here, because that's how you're going to actually join it. So here, it tells you a little bit about it, so this is a visible group, so anybody could find it online. You can see the history of it, was it built yesterday? Has it been around for a couple of years? All that kind of good stuff. Now, is this super important? Maybe, maybe not, right? If you're trying to vet a group because you're curious about it, you want to know maybe that it's been around for more than 20 minutes, or maybe you're only looking for new groups. It all depends on what your concerns are, or what is important to you. It'll give you an idea on how many people are in it, how many posts, have happened today, how many people are in the group. Now, some people like to join large groups. They like to have that, big interactive group to deal with. Some people feel overwhelmed by that and don't want a big group. They want a small group, which is why this information's here. This is another thing that you should always look for. It may not always be there, but always keep an eye out for it, and that is the group rules, right? You want to make sure that A, you're going to be able to follow the rules, and B, that they've got rules that you're comfortable with. So you're going to want to come in here, and these are pretty, typical of what you see. Please be specific and stay on topic. If people take the time to set up a Facebook group around a particular topic, they generally don't want it to wander off into other conversations. There's other places to do that. They don't want you self-promoting. They don't want you selling things to the group. It's supposed to be a conversation, not a sales pitch. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Don't private message everybody or direct message everybody. Show respect, that kind of stuff. Now, how successful it is, you'll only find out over time, but it's good to see this kind of stuff. When you're ready to group, okay, if there's a problem with the group, you can report it. Don't do that unless there's a real need, okay? Report it if there's something truly wrong or truly in violation, not something that you just disagree with, okay? Let's be adults here, right? Separate out, okay? People can have different opinions, okay? That's not something to report. Doing something wrong, okay? Copyrighted material, porn, whatever, that's the kind of stuff you can go ahead and report. Otherwise, you're just going to come in and you're going to say join group. Now, all right, I did do this already. I tested this yesterday, make sure it was still working this way. So if you've already joined a group and they haven't accepted you yet, you'll see this kind of message up here. The reason I wanted to come in here is to show you that a lot of times in the groups, you have to agree to the questions, or you have to answer the questions. If you don't, you won't get access to the group. And people get frustrated because they're like, I asked for access for this group. How come I don't have access to it? Well, that's because you didn't answer the questions. And the problem is that there's no way for the people who are running the group to reach out to you to let you know that that's why you're not getting in. So if you have tried to access a group and you have not been able to get that access, go back to it, click on the group thing again, and make sure you answered all of the questions. I purposely didn't because I wanted you to see that you can go back later and you can do it. Make sure you agree to all the rules in the group, and then when you do that, you'll be able to submit. Okay? Hey Lyle, how you doing? Good to see you. All right, let me see here. So we did that. Then even after you've gone ahead and you've answered all the questions, you want to be patient because some have an automated solution, but others, it's a manual process. So you've got to wait until the admin has the time to go in and can get to yours. And, and if there's been a large influx of people signing up, they have a lot that they have to go through to vet. So patience. That's a very important thing everywhere online. Okay. Yes, I want to exit without it. So that's new. Well, that's good. So that'll help people remember. I'm glad to see that they did that. That's a good thing. Alrighty. So, that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. That's so much better. Okay, so that is how you go in, how you find groups, and how you join them. It's not super hard. It might be a little bit of time involved. But one of the points I want to make here is sometimes people get into this frenzy of joining all the groups. There's nothing that's going to stop you from doing it, but I don't know that it's the most effective thing to do, right? You want to pick one or two groups, and join those and kind of spend some time with them and go that way before you move on to the next one. From there, and then if you want to add or maybe leave a group and join another group, whatever. But there's not a whole lot of reason to join 500 groups. There's probably a good number for you, so you have to find out what that is. But don't feel like you have to join all the groups. It's just they're not Pokemon. You don't need to collect them all. If you want to stay on top of things, if you want to know what's coming down the pike here, feel free to join the mailing list at yourtechcoach.net/mailing list. There's no fear, no pressure. I'm not selling your email address to anybody. It's strictly so I can stay in contact with you. But go ahead and reach out if you want to stay up to date with what's going on. All right, so let's go into the next one, which is once you're into a group, right, and you're ready to start interacting. Wait, I have to put this one up. This is too funny. Yes. He says, please always be nice to your admins. Yes, please do be nice to your admins. He's saying that because he knows I'm an admin in several groups. And actually, well, he's a mod in a couple of groups too. So, yes, it is a good idea to be nice to your admins. Don't take it personally when they tell you please don't do something or do something. They're doing their job to help the group stay on track, following the rules of the group. Okay, it's not their decision, they're doing a job. So yes, Ace, thank you for that. That is an excellent reminder. Show your admins and your mods a little love, and understand that if they've told you to take something down or to do something a certain way, it's not their personal preference. It is something that they have been told to do by the group owners. Is that what you wanted me to cover, Ace? Did I get it? Okay, there we go. We got that covered. All right. Let me bring that up there. So, yes, once you're in a group, where do you start? How do you go about getting benefit from being a group member, being a group participant? First of all, get a feel for the room, right? So yes, you've done your search, you've looked at the rules, you've looked at the history of the group, but still, now that you're inside of it, you may get a different look. You're welcome, Ace. So take a look at some recent posts, maybe look at some older posts, try to get a feel for the way people communicate, the patterns that are going on. Look for little things like certain groups will tag certain types of posts with something. So maybe, they put hashtag ask in uppercase if you're asking a question. Maybe it's got a hashtag win if you're sharing a win on a particular topic. So look for that kind of stuff. Get familiar with the way that they do things, because the faster you get yourself into that mode, the faster you will get that positive benefit out of the group. Go back again, even though you saw the rules on the original import, when you were going in and joining the group, look in the About section. There's usually a list of the rules. That gets updated more often. That may be more in depth than the one you saw when you signed up, because that's limited on how much text people can put in it. So go and look for that, read it. Also look for any pinned posts or announcements. Those are things that the group owner and or the admins want everybody to see and be up to date on. So make sure you actively search those out. It's also a good idea, even if you've been in a group for a while, to go and check those out, because again, they will update them from time to time, and you want to make sure that you're working from the place of most current information. Some groups also have something they call information sheets or data sheets, or it depends on how they phrase it. But the idea is it's generally a document or a section of the group where you can go in and get a little bit deeper into things. And it tends to be information that people ask for or need on a more regular basis. So it's almost an FAQ, a frequently asked questions kind of a thing, but it's more in-depth than that, right? FAQs tend to be, quick little things about like, how do I sign up? How do I pay my bills? That kind of stuff. This is going to be a little bit more in depth, and it's going to be more focused on whatever the topic is for the group. So do make it a habit to go and look for those. The big thing that I don't think I have been in any group, either as a participant, a mod, or an admin, that I haven't seen this become an issue, so I'm going to bring it up. You want to make sure that before you start asking questions, especially if you're new, but it's always just a good habit to get into across the board, do a search. So here, let me go into one of my groups and I'll show you what I mean. There's a little search option. Let's see, groups. I'm so surprised they put it under See More, because they do push groups pretty hard. Let's see, what's one of my recent groups? Oh, here, I'll do this one, because this is a fun one. I'm very excited about this group that I'm in right now. Okay, can I really not explode this out? Okay, gee, thanks, new UI. Let me see if I can do it this way. Just would be easier to see if you can see the whole page. Okay, so let me bring this up now that I've got it, so that you can actually see stuff. What a concept. Okay, so those of you who know me in real life, I have mine in here someplace. Rocketbooks. I love Rocketbooks. Okay, so not a promotion, just sharing something I love. So Rocketbooks are notebooks, but you use the Pilot friction pens, and then you can actually, it's sort of like a portable whiteboard almost, except you don't use the whiteboard markers on it, but you can write in them, you can draw in them. There's an app, you take a picture and it saves it wherever you want. There's all kinds of destinations to go to. Again, not a promotion, but I'm just explaining why I'm in this group, because love it. So We got this group here. So when you're in a group, right, you can see the members, you can do all that kind of stuff. You can invite people. I would say if you feel strongly that somebody you know would benefit from being inside this group, you probably want to just tell them about it and send them the link, because the invite thing doesn't really work well in Facebook. It adds them to the list of people who request access that the admins and the group owners can see. But they obviously haven't answered the questions because they didn't choose. You put their name in there. They didn't choose to put their name on the list. So it's an awkward situation. If you want to share, just tell somebody about it, send them a link. Let them and ask for access on their own. So you've got the about, right, which we saw before, but it's here. Discussion is where you're going to want to spend most of your time, right? That's where the active discussions are going on, but you can also get into announcements. You can see members. If there are events in this group, you can see them. So there's all these things. Media and files, this is where you're going to find that other content. So this is like images that people have uploaded. This is a very active group. They're very cool. Got some great ideas too. And then there's different files in here for recommendations or templates that people have shared and all that. So it doesn't hurt to wander through, especially when you're first coming into a group, and check all these out. But discussions is where the activity is happening, right? So again, you would come in, they've got it broken out. So like there's 3 announcements since I was in here a couple of hours ago. But if you're new, you're just going to want to go through and get a feel for what the conversations are and how things are done. Take a look at the comments and see how that goes, just to get yourself familiar with it. When you decide that you want to ask a question, you're going to look for this little magnifying glass, right? And you're going to click on this, and you're going to search for whatever it is before you post it as a question in there. Why am I saying that? Why am I making such a big deal out of this? Because the odds are, especially if it's a group that's been around for a while and you're brand new to it, the odds are very, very high that somebody's already asked this question and had it answered. Matter of fact, for people who are really new to a group, the odds are really high. It's been asked 1 million times and answered 1 million times. So don't be the 1,000,001, right? Start off kind of above. Don't do things that are immediately going to make you scream newbie. Not it's a bad thing, but you have to look at it from both sides of the fence, right? You're in there because you want to get information, but you'll have to keep in mind that there are people who are possibly in this group for years answering the same question over and over again, and it does get a little tiresome after a while. So, for example, something that gets asked a lot is, like, can I use dry erase? Okay, and then you're going to see all of the people that have already brought this up and all of the answers they've already had. I specifically picked this because I know that this comes up a lot, because you can't. It's a special pen that you use that gives you the ability. You write it, it dries in a couple of seconds, it won't smudge or all that, but when you want to reuse the page, when you're done with the content that's there, you just get a little bit of water and a wipe and a cloth that they give you, and it just comes right off. But this is an example of what I'm talking about, right? This goes on and on and on. So this is a good example of a question that anybody new should go and do the search before they ask, and maybe do it a couple ways. It doesn't have to be the whole post that you are thinking about posting. Just try to put a few of the keywords in there. I made it a sentence because I know that's how people do it, or it's part of a sentence. When I do it, I would just do like dry erase markers because that's the core of what I would be asking about. And then you can filter it. So if there's a lot here, but maybe some of the information feels out of date or whatever, you can filter it, a bunch of different ways. But that's a real good like power user tip in whatever group you're in. It will make it more beneficial for you, and it will make it a little easier on the people who are managing the group. So win-win. Okay. Is there anything more I want to say about that? So yeah, I mean, you can do multiple, you can keep searching. It's all kinds of wonderful. But that's a very good thing. So again, that is, it's been relocated. It used to be, so when you were looking at it on the old UI, it was on the left side about halfway down. Now it's up here in this heading, one of the few changes that I agree with. Right, so in here you can manage your, so this is if you decide that the group is not for you, and that's fine. That may happen. Understand that if you're going to leave, if the group is not a good fit for you, just leave it, okay? You don't need to post an 18-paragraph explanation on why you don't like it and how they're all wrong about everything. Nobody cares. Just if this group is not a good fit for you, or you outgrow the group, Just come in here, hit unfollow group, and move on with your life. If you love this group and you want to stay on top of everything that's going on, then you're going to want to set the notifications up so you get those. And you can also pin it so that it shows up when you go into the groups section of Facebook, that it'll show up high in the list for you. Okay, what else do I want to tell you about this? The other things that I want to tell you about being in a group. Be a good citizen. Seriously, be a good citizen in the group. Make sure that you're participating as a give and take situation, right? Ideally, okay, especially after you've been there for a while, maybe you feel like you're giving more than you're taking. That's what builds a really good group. Have a little respect for the group and the other people. Don't tell tales out of school, right? So people are in a group and they want to feel like it's a safe place to be in. So try to stay out of the cliques. Don't talk about people outside of it. Just respect the space that you're in. And if that doesn't work for you, then again, please go. There are other groups you can go find. Make it a habit, okay? A lot of people join groups because they have a problem, okay? So, I do a lot of technology, so I'm in a lot of technology groups. That's how that all works together, right? So a lot of people will come in, they will join the group. Maybe they'll even post a very nice, first post kind of thing. And then they'll ask their question, they'll get their answer, and you never see them again. That's not effective, right? It's not effective for you or for the group. So if you're, you're going to spend some time with it, make sure it's the right group for you. But once you decide that, yes, this is a group you want to stick around in, show up. It doesn't have to be 100 times every day. Figure out what works good for you in the group. Some groups are more active than others. So, whether it's, maybe you check in a couple times a week or a couple times a month, but make sure that you're checking in. Make sure that you're looking for opportunities to pitch in and answer questions or interact with somebody, commiserate, whatever it is that needs to be done, in addition to asking questions and getting information and help for you. That is all of the groups that I'm in where that happens on a regular basis are the best places. Like, I'm so happy I found them. The groups that I join and I see, in a couple of weeks that that's not what's happening, those are the ones I leave. Your mileage may vary. I'm just making recommendations. Respect the rules that they posted. Don't get into arguments for argument's sake. Don't sell to everybody in the group. Don't ask people to like you or follow you. Don't try to friend everybody in the group. Don't DM everybody, or personal message everybody, especially the admins and the mods. Please don't do that. Just make it a pleasant experience. The way I try to explain it to people who have never done it before is when you're going into somebody's group, you're basically going into their house, right? So you don't go into somebody's house and start asking people for money. You don't start, rifling through their wallets and their purses, so the same rules are in effect here. Just try to make it a pleasant experience. Participate, stop in, even just to say hi, sometimes that's perfectly fine. You'll see that in a lot of groups. People just pop in, say hi, check in with everybody, and then pop out again to go back to whatever it is they're doing. That's fine. The other side of this is after people are in a group for a while, sometimes they start to feel like it's theirs, which is great, right? Because that's a sign of a successful, healthy group. Like they're comfortable there, they know people, they know the flow of it. But sometimes inadvertently, most of the time, they'll try to make it their private clubhouse, or they'll try to rebuild it in their own image, right? Instead of the original purpose for the group, or frankly, they'll just try to outright hijack it, and take it off course. Don't do that. Don't force the group owner or the admins or the mods to have to punch you because of that. And that's the kind of thing, like, if they say to you, hey, we're not doing that here, please don't get pissy about it. They're not doing it to be mean. They're not picking on you. This is just because they're trying to keep the group experience to be as good an experience as they possibly can, that the rules are being applied across the board to everybody. So that's a very important thing. But hands down, the most important thing, I think, really is that you want to participate. You want to have those conversations. It's fine to get to know people in there. And by checking in and having the conversations and asking the questions and watching to see the topics that come up, that's the other mistake I see some people make. It's like, they go in with their question and they disappear, but then you're losing the benefit of, like, seeing other people's questions and the answers around it, because it may be something that you haven't run across yet, or something hasn't even occurred to you yet. So it can be a great resource for new information that either you don't know you need yet, or that you're going to need, and then when this happens to you or this situation pops up, you'll be like, hey, they talked about that in the group, I know exactly what to do now. So it's groups are not a passive experience. Okay, you need to put a little effort into them. That doesn't mean it has to become a second job. Not by any means, but it does mean that you do need to check in, you do need to interact, you do need to be there in a certain pattern so that you're going to know what's going on and keep track of everything. Okay? All right. So I think we're good. I think that's everything I had on my list. Let me just double check. Yes. Okay. So there you go. By all means, go and check out Facebook groups. Out of all the things on Facebook, I will say, I think that they're probably one of the better features. There's other good features. I know. We got a lot of Facebook friends here. But, there's a lot of strength to being in a good group. And as a business owner of any size, it can be a very valuable resource. It can be a sounding board. It can provide information. It can provide networking opportunities. It can even spark new ideas for your business that you might not have come to any other way, or might have taken you a lot longer to get to. So by all means, go find a couple of good ones, make them a part of your regular habit instead of just watching all the animal videos. And believe me, they're funny. I've watched this one person who's got Newfoundland dogs. Oh, they do funny videos with them. They're hysterical. And it's fine to do that. That's great, right? That's the entertainment part of Facebook. But you can also get work benefit out of it. So go ahead and check a few out. Remember, you just go in the new Facebook UI, you just go in, you go to the hamburger menu, which is up in the upper right. Click on that. On the left side, you have to click See More. Scroll down a little bit, you'll see groups, and that's when you can go and start checking them out. All right? All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. I hope you're all having a good week, and I will see you again next week. I'm here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with a different topic. If you have a topic that you want me to cover, by all means, reach out. YourTechCoach.net. Frankly, all of the best shows come from your recommendations, your questions. So bring them on. And you can also come here and ask questions if something comes up. I do, keep an eye on the chat. So if somebody has a question, I will try to cover those at the end. They can be off topic. That's okay too. All right. Thank you, Sammy. I appreciate that. See, that's so nice. When you get good people hanging out in your chat, it's a fun thing. So thank you. I appreciate that feedback. Nice to know the effort it was. All the effort was worth putting together this show, because it was a lot of poking around and reading just to make sure I was giving you the most up-to-date information, especially around the new UI. All right, everybody, have a good one. We will talk again soon, and until then, have fun. Go find a Facebook group. They're out there. Bye.